As time goes on, it seems that more and more we hear of stories that hit the headlines about innocent children being abused and neglected by their parents or guardians. But what we do not take into consideration is the extreme toll that abuse takes on the well-being of these children in their day-to-day lives. I have done extensive research into this subject and personally interviewed a master social worker who has worked to help these children for 14 years. The negative effects that physical, emotional, and sexual abuse have on a child extends far beyond what can be seen with the human eye and is cause for many of their developmental delays. First, I will discuss physical abuse and how the adverse reaction it has on the child's body. Next, I will explain how emotional abuse negatively affects the behavioral aspects of a child. Finally, I will cover the ultra-sensitive concerns that sexual abuse poses on the development of the mental health and psyche of the child. According to the article, National Statistics on Child Abuse, wrote in 2019 by the NCA, 17.5% of the reported child abuse cases were of a physical maltreatment in 2015. 17.5%. That is 60,879 innocent lives that were left in the hand of a dangerous, abusive person. In the article, Physical Child Abuse by American SPCC, wrote in 2018, it was stated that physical abuse adversely affects the internal and the external parts of a child. When one is physically aggressive and lays hands on a child, it can cause bruising and pain to different areas of their body. As the aggression intensifies, what is known as shaken baby syndrome can occur in infants or toddlers. This causes major trauma to the brain and to the skull, and unfortunately can lead to child death. Another common form of physical abuse is the deprivation of a constant food source. When a child is deprived of essential food items that are needed for growth and development, it causes severe malnutrition and can pose life-threatening damage to vital organs. When a child suffers from physical abuse, it negatively affects the overall health and proper growth of their body. The next type of abuse that I am going to talk about is emotional abuse. Emotional abuse comes in many different forms. Hurtful words, withholding affection or attention from that child, a lack of expressed love and support, belittling and downgrading that child, and the feeling of fear and insecurity in the abuser's presence. When a child experiences emotional abuse from their parents or their guardians, it results in aggressive tendencies towards other authorities in that child's life. This aggression often leads to an unfortunate decline in academic success due to a strong resistance towards the teachers and the administrators within their school. During my interview with the master social worker, Hillary Trudeau, she stated that emotional abuse also brings about an increase in defiant behavior from the victimized child. When these children express their lack of behavioral control, it quickly reduces their sense of belonging within their social life. Their peers they have a hard time connecting with them, resulting in little to no friends. Emotional abuse causes the victims to behaviorally act out due to lack of natural affection and the need for attention and positive reinforcement. The final topic that I am going to cover is one of a very sensitive nature. This type of abuse is called sexual child abuse. These victims are subjected to the horror of rape and sexual assault, molestation, sexual harassment and stalking, the exploitation of child pornography, and unfortunately, the buying, selling, and trading of children for sexual purposes, also known as human sex trafficking. Many forms of this type of abuse often go unreported due to the offender's severe threats of further abuse if that child tells anyone what is happening. Sexual abuse creates a multitude of mental health problems. These victims experience a high level of mistrust in people, even ones who are trying to help them through their trauma. Attachment disorders are another common side effect of sexual abuse. Children have a hard time emotionally and intimately attaching themselves to someone due to a breach of personal trust by their abuser. Sexual abuse brings about adolescent depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and self-blame for what they have experienced. During my research, I found an article on an online library entitled Child Sexual Abuse by Amanda Wynn that explained that the victims of sexual abuse also have a higher chance of their brain resorting to dangerous coping mechanisms, including severe eating disorders. Over 50% of sexual child abuse victims develop a long-term eating disorder by the time they're a teenager. Children who are sexually abused in any form or fashion have a higher tendency to develop poor psychological and mental health problems that will affect their everyday life. The negative effects that physical, emotional, and sexual child abuse have extend far beyond what can be seen with the human eye and is cause for many of their developmental delays. We can all agree that just the thought of a child experiencing abuse is terrible and heartbreaking. But for many children, physical, emotional, and sexual abuse is a frequent reality. Abuse of any kind is detrimental to the overall growth of a child's body, spirit, and mind. And that is why I believe that it is imperative to show limitless compassion to each and every child that we meet, because we just never know how much they might need it. Thank you. Show your face. Face that, show your face.